Hi, everyone. My name is Marianne Gouveia, and I'm the founder of ericshouse.org. I'm here today with Jean Nictakis. Hi, Jean.
Hi, Marianne.
Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
A little bit about Jean. Jean is a stay-at-home mother of 3 grown children and a wife of 33 years. She is now dedicating her time and energy to the service of others. Raised in the Roman Catholic Church, Jean ventured out to study all the world's religions, and she was determined to find the commonalities among them. A natural progression led her to study A Course in Miracles, led her to Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan friar and globally recognized ecumenical teacher and Christian mystic. And she also studied many other non-traditional spiritual outlets. Jean graduated from a 1-year study in Eastern meditation from the Self-Realization Fellowship and has found a spiritual home at the Franciscan Renewal Center in Paradise Valley, Arizona. Currently, Jean is a spiritual director, a student of healing touch, and the less significant part of an animal therapy team.
Correct.
So tell us about your current work.
For the past several years, I've spent so much time learning and digesting and reading and studying that now, in the past, I would say only 2 years, I feel called to actually give what I know. So instead of staying home and doing my own solo practice and developing my own personal relationship with God, I feel like it's time for me to be in the service of others. Mm-hmm. So I began that by looking into spiritual direction. Okay. That's a 2-year training program that meets and we read and we journal and we work on learning how to become productive spiritual directors for others.
Okay, and could you just talk a little bit about what spiritual direction is?
Spiritual direction is a safe place for an individual to come and sit down and tell their story. Mm-hmm. It's a place usually for people who are in transition from and not knowing what their next move can be. It can be a place where an individual comes who says, I don't feel the presence of God and I'm trying to find him in my life. Mm-hmm. Or somebody could say, I feel God all around me and I don't know what to do with all this energy. Mm-hmm. So it's a place where we sit in quiet conversation without judgment, with total compassion mm-hmm. and total love, to listen to another person and hold their story sacred. Mm-hmm. And a spiritual director is trained to listen for specific movements within the story, movements that might be worth spending a little bit more time talking about and going a little deeper with.
Okay. And does it purport any particular religion?
No. Spiritual direction is completely non-denominational. And we are also trained to match our language to whatever's comfortable for the person sitting across from us. Mm-hmm. Some people don't like to call God a he. That brings up a lot of negative baggage for them. And they may want to call God she. And that's what we use. Or it. Or universal source. So we mirror whatever our individual or client, however they want to talk. It's all about them mm-hmm. and helping them find their source and their connection to all.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very interesting. I have only recently begun to work with a spiritual director.
Good for you.
And I find it's opening a kind of a new dimension for me to actually create a practice around, spiritual direction for myself, because we go through the daily rigmarole of life, we get busy. I'm at a stage in my life where questions about my relationship with God, they're big questions now.
Yeah.
And so I see it as being very, very helpful.
What has it opened up for you, may I ask, or is it too personal?
Well, I as you know, I lost one of my youngest child. And so I've spent, a number of months trying to sort through that. But I had some very profound relationships throughout my grief journey with God, as I define God. And it's opened up a new way of thinking. It's opened up some channels of possibility for me. Like I'm ready to move on to the next step in developing my relationship.
That's
and so, it's helping me to slow down a little bit. It's helping reduce some anxiety, being a type A personality. So yeah, I find it very useful. I can't honestly say that it's for everyone, but I think there comes a point in your life where it's well worth the time investment.
I think one of the important things to know about spiritual direction, even though it's non-denominational, you usually find them in the churches, and there seems to be a wide variety in who you can find for spiritual direction.
Okay.
So if one director doesn't work for you, or you outgrow the director, you can move on to somebody different.
So Jean, tell me a little bit about Healing Touch. What exactly is that?
I'm very excited about Healing Touch. It's brand new for me. I am a student of Healing Touch. Mm-hmm. Healing Touch is actually an energy-based work. So I kind of think of it as the westernized version of Reiki. I think almost everybody's heard of Reiki, which is energy work, body work. This was developed by nurses. It's accredited by the Nursing Association. It's supported by hospitals and doctors all over the country, and it's getting more and more support. But basically, it's the belief that we are not just this body, we are spiritual beings, and our spiritual beingness has an energy to it. Mm-hmm. And that energy runs through our body and around our bodies. Mm-hmm. And when two beings come in contact with each other, or consciously and intentionally blend with each other, they can actually change the energy in each other. Mm-hmm. So healing can occur. We can pray with somebody and really increase their energy and perhaps help them heal a sore muscle, mm-hmm. or help them just feel more relaxed and at peace, and reduce some anxiety.
Okay. And what does a typical session look like?
Typically, a session will last about an hour, and the practitioner will talk with the client and see, if there's any aches or pains or anxieties, stresses, depression, anything in particular that she or he wants to focus on. And after that's agreed upon, then the client will lay fully clothed on a massage table. About the only thing they'll take off is their shoes. And the practitioner will enter into a state of consciousness where he intentionally and consciously attempts to bring healing, loving light to the person who is laying on that table.
Mm-hmm. Now, another project that you have, Jean, is being part of an animal therapy team for hospice.
Right.
What moved you to undertake that type of work?
Well, it started with just the animal therapy work, and it started with wanting to do something with my dog and doing something that would be fun to do. And after I got him trained and certified, and myself as well, I was really drawn to working hospice and with the elderly, and also dementia as well. Going into a dementia unit where they can just put their hands on the dog, and then to see the smile and the memories that come up, and the joy that we can bring from that is just a beautiful experience.
So it sounds like it's very rewarding.
It is. It is for me, and I hope for the patients as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, we have a Healing Insights, Healing Hearts workshop coming up on October 13th and 14th. Yes. And you have so generously agreed to be one of our speakers. I wanted to thank you for that.
My pleasure.
perhaps you could give us a sneak preview of what you're going to talk about.
Well, I felt that the areas that might be helpful for your conference attendees is to talk about the resources that are available to them to help them in their healing. One of them being spiritual direction, to talk more about what happens in those programs and what they can expect and where they can find spiritual directors. Also the healing touch as well, same thing, what they can expect, how it works, and where they can find them. And also being mindful, practicing a little bit of mindfulness training and some meditation techniques if they haven't been exposed to that as well, can be very helpful.
Yeah, okay. And, you know, having been through that really excruciating grief journey, you know, what we focus on mostly is just trying to get through, trying to power through. We don't often think about undertaking alternative forms of healing,
Right.
Mainly because it's just not in our head at that time to do that. We're still so reeling from the loss.
Right.
And you know, for people who want to, you know, engage in those types of healing arts, as I call them, what can they expect? How can it benefit them?
I feel that in my experience as a spiritual director, what my clients, if you can call them that, get out of it is just somebody who listens to them without trying to fix them, without trying to change them, without trying to make them better. And we're just giving them the opportunity to really say and process out loud their deep feelings. And we're holding that sacred and we're giving that a space. And what I tend to hear from them is just saying it out loud and processing it in that kind of safe environment changes the way they feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
It can give them a time to kind of slow down and see it and appreciate it, and perhaps find some forgiveness for it.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, I think it's very important because you oftentimes have a crisis of faith.
Yeah.
And you have to completely re-examine, you know, not only where you are with your faith, but where you are with your relationship with God. Many times people are angry with God.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it creates a sacred, safe place with somebody who understands.
Right.
So that they can explore their feelings, whatever they may be.
Exactly. Yell at God.
Sure.
Cuss them out. You know, all of that is a place where you can do that. And that helps heal.
Well, Jean, thank you for that. Now, for those people interested in healing touch, how will they benefit?
I think the people who benefit from healing touch walk out of a session feeling very relaxed and very well balanced, and perhaps just with a renewed sense of this day is one day that I can get through and I can feel a little better this day. So a reduction of anxiety, a reduction of stress, and a feeling of more completeness and balance and wholeness is what most people will walk out of a healing touch session affirming.
It sounds like, I've never done it, but it sounds like maybe you feel a little bit more put together because after a traumatic loss, you're so broken. You're broken into so many pieces.
Well, we're going to get you on the table and let you experience it and see for yourself.
Okay, well, that would be great. I would love that.
Yeah. It's a sacred healing. It's a sacred experience.
Well, that's great. And I'll very much look forward to that.
Good.
So, Jean, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I so much appreciate you joining us today. And I really look forward to working with you on October 13th and 14th.
Looking forward to that conference. I really am. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And for our viewers, you can learn more about our conference at www.ericshouse.org. And if you're interested in talking with Jean, she will be there with business cards and information for you to take home.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was pretty good.